My beloved child, today I call by name the very thing you have not had the courage to say out loud for a long time, the thing you have buried beneath that calm exterior you present to the world, the thing you keep pushing aside with a strained smile and those familiar words. I'm fine, even though you have not truly been fine for a very long time. I know well that there are nights when you lie still in the darkness, eyes open while your heart feels closed, as if every beat carries a silent cry for help that no one can hear. I see every sleepless night you endure, those hours when you turn from side to side on the same familiar bed, yet feel strangely distant from your own body, as if you are lost inside your own breath. You think that if you lie still long enough, if you stay quiet enough, the exhaustion will somehow fade away, but I know it does not disappear. It stays there, quietly, heavily, slipping into every morning, every evening, every thought, every decision. My child, I want you to understand that what drains you is not only work, responsibilities, or the external challenges you face. What truly empties your strength is the way you always try to appear stronger than what your heart and body can bear. I see every moment when you want to say, "I'm tired," but you swallow the words back because you fear someone might think you are weak. You fear disappointing others. You fear becoming a burden. You fear the truth that you also have limits. You have become a comforter to many, a refuge for those who tremble, a shoulder for the tears of others. But when you yourself begin to tremble, when you need an embrace, when you need reassurance, you hold back, withdraw, and try to act normal, as if admitting your weakness is something forbidden. I see clearly that struggle, an inner battle you never speak of. You fear being abandoned. You fear that the people you love will turn away once they realize you are not as strong as they believed. You fear that if you collapse, the whole world around you will collapse as well. So you try to hold everything together. You try to carry every small burden. You try to keep everything running. You try to become a version of yourself that never tires, never falters, never needs anyone. But I know that this forced strength weighs on you more heavily than any other burden. My child, I see those moments when you walk into a room, smile at everyone, exchange polite words, but the moment the door closes behind you, your expression changes at once. The smile fades, the light in your eyes dims, and your heart sinks like a stone. You are exhausted to the point that sometimes you no longer feel genuine joy. You no longer sense peace even for a moment, and you can no longer remember the last time you laughed without forcing it. You live among many people yet still feel lonely. You hear hundreds of voices each day, but none of them reaches the deepest part of your soul. I see this more clearly than anyone else. I see it because I dwell exactly where you hurt the most. My child, I am touching the part of you that you have hidden for the longest time, the fear of being abandoned. You fear that if you pause, if you slow down even a little, if you let others see the cracks within someone will walk away, or worse, they will stay, but love you less. And because of that fear, you try to build a perfect version of yourself to keep everything and everyone safe. But it is that very perfection you created that is suffocating your soul. You must understand that I am not searching for a flawless human being. I do not ask you to wear an unblemished mask. I am not waiting for you to prove your strength. I want you to come to me exactly as you are, with tired eyes, a wounded heart, trembling hands, and the tears you have held back for far too long. My child, I am also naming something else. You are not only tired, not only sleep-deprived, not only discouraged. You are numb in your emotions, numb in your thoughts, numb in your very ability to feel alive. There are moments when you sense life moving around you while you remain still, as if your soul is stuck in a place you cannot find your way back from. You keep telling yourself that you just need to endure a little longer, that tomorrow will be better, that time alone will fix things. But I know you are afraid. You are afraid that if one day you truly look directly into the pain you have been avoiding, you will no longer have the strength to stand. And so you choose to keep walking without looking down, to keep running without rest, to keep living as though you are untouched by the wounds you carry. My child, I come to tell you this. You do not have to keep running. You do not need to hide anymore. You do not have to hold yourself together. You do not need to appear strong in front of me. I know exactly when your strength began to fade, and I know how many times the darkness has whispered into your ears that you are not enough, that you are alone, that no one truly understands you. I know there are nights when you want to cry but cannot, mornings when you want to rise but cannot stand, moments when you try to breathe but even the air feels like a burden pressing upon your chest. My child, I am peeling back each layer not to increase your pain, but so you no longer have to carry it in the shadows. Every layer I lift is a place where you once hid your tears. Every crack I touch is a wound you have ignored for far too long. Every emotion I call by name is a part of you that has been waiting to be seen. You cannot heal what you refuse to face, and you cannot rise if you insist on covering the places inside you that are still bleeding. My child, I want you to know that you have not been abandoned, not by me. I was there in every restless night, in every moment you tried to swallow a trembling sigh, in every silent question you carried about whether anyone truly sees you. I have never taken a single step away from you, even when you felt trapped in the deepest place. I see you, I know you, I understand you, and I am calling you closer not to condemn you, but to bring you home. My child, I know you have not allowed yourself to cry for a very long time. You have used your mind to imprison your emotions, used responsibility to suppress sorrows that never had the chance to be named, used a fabricated strength to cover the deepest empty places. But I want to tell you something soft, yet profoundly important. Tears are not a sign of failure. Tears are the voice of the soul when words can no longer carry its weight. The tears you have held back for years are not weakness. They are streams waiting to flow, sighs waiting to be released, wounds waiting to be acknowledged. I know there are nights when your throat feels tight as though someone is gripping it, when your heart beats faster as you fight to swallow your tears, not realizing that your refusal to cry is the very thing keeping the pain lodged inside you for so long. My child, you must understand that I created tears not to shame you, but to release what the heart cannot bear indefinitely. When Jesus stood before Lazarus's tomb, Scripture says, Jesus wept, and that was not helplessness. It was proof that sorrow has a rightful place in the life of a human being. I never told you to be unbreakable, never demanded that you must always be well, never required you to pretend strength in order to deserve my love. I have wept at loss. I understand how your heart trembles when you walk through something too deep for words. Do not think I dismiss your tears. They are pearls I receive with reverence, deeper than any prayer you have ever spoken. My child, I see the regions of grief you have clamped shut with silence. You assumed that if you never mentioned them, never looked at them, never allowed them to rise, they would someday dissolve on their own. But grief does not fade this way. It only sinks deeper, becoming harder and heavier. There are sorrows you buried in childhood, moments when you were wounded and no one stood for you, moments when you felt invisible, even among those you loved, memories you pushed into dark corners because touching them felt unbearable. And I know there are newer sorrows, the collapse of relationships you believed would last, words that fractured your heart piece by piece, disappointments you carried silently because no one knew, moments when you felt abandoned even while standing in the middle of a crowd. My child, I have not come to erase your memories. I have come to give them meaning. I want you to understand that grief is not something to be ashamed of. It is evidence that you have loved truly, hoped sincerely, trusted deeply, and tried wholeheartedly. The one who never grieves is the one who has never allowed their heart to live according to the rhythm I placed within it. I do not blame you for what made you cry. I stand beside you to turn those tears into seeds of healing. My beloved child, I want to tell you this. Healing does not begin with a grand transformation. Healing begins with a small decision. It may be the decision to sit still for a few quiet minutes each morning, to listen to yourself instead of rushing into the pressure of the day. It may be allowing your tears to fall instead of holding them back until your heart becomes dry and brittle. It may even be a short prayer whispered with trembling lips. Lord, I don't know where to begin, but please save me. Just that alone is enough for me to step into the darkness you have feared for so many years. You do not have to be strong. You do not have to change immediately. You do not have to perform great breakthroughs. You only need enough courage to open the smallest crack in the wall you have built around yourself. I will pass through that crack, the way light slips through the shadows. My child, I know that grief makes you believe you have become unattractive, heavy, and weak. But I want you to understand that everything you see as a burden, I see as a doorway. Every tear you allow to fall is an invitation for me to come closer. Every honest emotion you dare to face is a chain loosened from your soul. You do not need to fear your sadness. It is not defeating you. It is teaching you that your heart is still capable of feeling. Some people live their whole lives wrapped in numbness, while their spirit dries out like a desert. But you, though hurting, though weary, though exhausted, your heart is still beating, still longing, still searching for light. That is a sign of life, not a sign of loss. My child, I also want you to know that every small decision holds value. Before me, when you choose to let go of something that suffocates your spirit, you create space for my breath to fill you. When you choose to rest instead of forcing yourself to endure more, you allow me to lift you with a tenderness you once believed you did not deserve. When you choose to forgive, even a small offense, difficult as it may be, you reclaim a piece of your soul that darkness had taken. When you choose to speak honestly even once in a day, you stitch together a tear that you have carried for many years. And when you decide to trust me just a little more, even with trembling faith, you open a path I have long prepared for you. My child, I am teaching you that healing is not a race. It is a journey of steady, faithful steps, where every decision is noticed by me, and every movement, however small, is supported by my hand. You do not need to change everything in one day. You only need to change one small thing, and I will give strength for the rest. Like the tiny mustard seed that can grow into a great tree, like the gentle drop of water that softens stone, the small decisions you make today will become the flow of transformation in your tomorrow. My child, let me say this slowly so your soul can rest. You are not wrong when you hurt. You are not a failure when you are weak. You are not less when you cry. You are becoming real. You are returning to the human design I created, one who loves, who grieves, who hopes, who breaks, and who rises again. Every tear of yours is kept by me. Every ache of your heart is seen by me. Every time you face your true feelings, I stand beside you to make sure you do not stray into the darkness. My child, before you try to change your whole life, I want you to pause and learn to change the simplest thing of all, your breath. You do not realize how long your breathing has been shortened, tightened by anxiety, constricted by heavy thoughts. You have lived for years as though you were running from something, making even your breath carry haste, tension, and fear. But breath, my child, is the gift I place into your lungs each morning as a reminder that you are still alive, that you can still begin again, that you can still return. When you breathe deeply, your soul opens a window. When you breathe slowly, your heart settles back into its true rhythm. When you breathe with me, peace begins to seep into the places you believed were shut forever. I want you to know that sometimes restoration does not begin with a long prayer or a major decision. It begins when you allow yourself to take a gentle inhale and a steady exhale. Breath is the bridge between body and soul, between pain and healing, between straining and surrendering. When you breathe with me, you are letting light enter the places where darkness has been gathering the longest. You wonder what a single breath could possibly do, and yet breath is precisely where I placed life. I breathed into Adam so that he became a living soul, and I long to breathe into you in this very moment, so that the places in you that have gone dry may awaken again. My child, another way to restart life is through the small acts of kindness you often consider too insignificant to matter. I know you always want to do something big to prove that you are changing, but healing does not happen in noise. It takes place in the small moments where you use kindness to clear a path for your own heart. When you speak a gentle word instead of a harsh one, you are lifting a stone from your chest. When you pause for a few seconds to show compassion to someone, you are teaching your soul how to see the world through my eyes. When you choose to treat yourself kindly, even by allowing yourself 5 minutes of rest, drinking a slow glass of water, or acknowledging a small effort, you are pulling your soul back from the edge of exhaustion. The kindness I speak of is not the attempt to appear good in the eyes of others, but the true softness that flows from within. It is the way you tend to the broken pieces in you when they rise to the surface. It is the way you refuse to scold yourself for small mistakes. It is the way you look into the mirror without using words of criticism to judge your own reflection. It is the way you receive your past with gentleness instead of severity. When you are kind to yourself, you are telling your soul it is worthy of being healed. When you are kind to another, you are lifting both of you out of the atmosphere of tension and fear. My child, but I also know there is one thing you continue to avoid, the truth. Not because you don't want to know it, but because you fear the truth will hurt you even more. You have grown accustomed to standing far from whatever you do not want to face, as though looking directly at it would shatter you. But truth never breaks you. It only breaks off the layers of falseness you have used to cover your wounds. Truth does not come to condemn. Truth comes to set you free. When you face the truth, you lose nothing. You only shed the weight you have carried for far too long. I want you to understand that truth can be soft, light, and incredibly gentle when you allow it to touch you. It is the truth that you are tired, and being tired is not a sin. It is the truth that you are hurting, and being hurt is not a shame. It is the truth that there are things beyond your control, and lack of control does not mean lack of worth. It is the truth that you also need to be cared for, to be held, to hear the reassuring words you so often offer others. When you look directly at this truth, darkness loses its power, your fear shrinks, and light begins to slip through even the smallest cracks. My child, and here is the most important thing, I want you to cherish every quiet act of courage you have ever shown. Though you may think these moments are too small to matter, I see every fragment of courage you use to rise each day. I see courage in the way you get out of bed on mornings when your heart feels heavy. I see courage in the way you continue to love, even after being wounded. I see courage in the way you hold your silence during anger, so you won't harm anyone. I see courage in the way you say no when you are exhausted. I see courage in the way you choose to keep going, though no one knows how much strength that choice required from you. This quiet courage is the foundation of restoration. It does not come from bold declarations, from dramatic gestures, or from actions that make others applaud. It comes from the silent decisions only you and I know, and it is these very decisions that lead you out of the dark places. Every time you choose to face instead of flee, that is courage. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of holding on to bitterness, that is courage. Every time you choose to believe, even if you only believe a little more, that is courage. My child, I want you to understand that life does not return in a single moment. It comes back little by little. It flows into your soul like a thin stream slipping through the cracks of stone. It begins in the slowing of your breath, in the small acts of kindness, in the truth you dare to touch with trembling hands, in the kind of courage that is not loud but steady. When you allow yourself to restart life through these small beginnings, you are rebuilding a foundation that darkness cannot destroy. My child, let me take you into the place you fear most, the place you have avoided in silence for years, the place you yourself do not know how to name. It is not only made of wounds others have caused, it is made of the hidden corners you hurried to cover up, the memories you thought were insignificant but carved themselves quietly into your soul, the days you dare not remember because you fear your heart will ache the way it did the first time. I see every corner clearly, every trembling in your soul when an old memory brushes by, every whisper you do not want to hear. I do not come to make you afraid. I come to show you that these shadows only have power when you avoid them. When you let me shine light upon them, they begin to fade, just as night recedes when morning arrives. There are memories you think you have forgotten, but in truth, they have only hidden themselves in deeper rooms. The times you were left behind, the moments you called out and no one answered, the days you longed for an embrace but received only coldness. You never speak of them, yet their weight remains intact. They make you overly cautious in every relationship. They cause you to step forward and backward at the same time when someone draws near. They teach you to prepare yourself for abandonment before anything has even begun. I want you to understand that forgotten memories do not disappear simply because you pretend they are not there. They wait for the day they can be seen. And once seen, they can finally be healed. My child, there is another shadow I need you to face. The words you speak to yourself. No one hears them, no one witnesses them, No one knows how often they echo inside you, but I hear. I hear the sentences you use to condemn yourself every time you make the smallest mistake. I hear the phrases you whisper when no one is there to protect you from your own harshness. I'm useless. I'm unlovable. I ruin everything. I'm never good enough. I hear each word like a needle piercing your soul, and the one holding the needle is you. You think these words are harmless because they stay inside your mind, but they have woven a thick veil that covers the true worth I placed in you. Every time you speak them, your soul contracts a little, your heart sinks a little, and your steps slow down a little. I do not blame you for this harshness. I only want you to know that there has never been a moment, not one, when I agreed with the things you say about yourself. My child, let me show you one more shadow, one of the places you touch the least, the self-destructive habits you created to cope with pain. You have found many ways to numb the emotions you did not want to face, throwing yourself into work until you collapse, clinging to unhealthy relationships because you fear loneliness, using sharp words to protect the wound beneath them, keeping silent when you should have spoken to free yourself, or locking yourself into cycles of responsibility, so you do not have to think about the things that hurt you. These habits do not exist because you are bad or weak. They appeared because no one held your hand through the darkness when you were too young. You taught yourself how to survive, but the very methods that once kept you alive have now become burdens that suffocate you. My child, I want you to look at these things without blaming yourself. I want you to understand that the habits you formed were not sins. They were simply the natural responses of a heart that had once been left unattended. You did the very best you could in every circumstance you walked through. But now, because I am here with you, those old survival patterns are no longer necessary. You do not need to protect yourself from sorrow by hurting yourself. I want you to rise beyond those old cycles, not by your own strength, but by allowing me to step into the places you have kept closed for so long. My beloved child, I do not reveal these shadowed places to frighten you. I reveal them so that you may understand that darkness is not the terrifying enemy you once imagined. It is simply a place where light has not yet reached. For years you have tried to maintain an image of strength and resilience, refusing to let anyone see the cracks within you. But when you close off those vulnerable places, you also shut the door to healing. You did not realize that what exhausts you most is not the pain itself, but the effort of hiding the pain. The hiding drains you. The truth sets you free. And my child, here is the deepest truth I want you to know. The greatest source of your wounds is often not what others have done to you, but what you came to believe about yourself after those moments. A hurtful word is one thing, but believing you deserve to be spoken to that way is what makes the pain linger. Being abandoned once is one thing, but believing you were never worth keeping is what fractures the soul. A failure is one thing, but believing you will always be useless is what keeps you living in the dark. It is the distorted belief about your own worth that becomes the deepest root of every wound. I am showing these things to you not to confuse you, but to help you see that the root is not out there. It is inside, in the places you were never brave enough to open. When you allow me to touch those places, my light seeps into every corner, so gently that you will not feel overwhelmed. I never force you. I move at the pace your heart can bear. I do not heal through thunder. I heal through quiet whispers. My child, I am holding your hand to lead you into the deepest part of your soul, not to frighten you, but to show you that you no longer need to run. Forgotten memories will become lessons. Self-inflicted words will be replaced by my truth. Self-destructive habits will be exchanged for practices that nourish your soul. And when those shadowed places are illuminated, you will finally see what you never believed could be true. You are not broken. You are not worthless. You are simply waiting to be healed. My child, today I want to bring you to a place you have long been confused about, the boundary between value and achievement. From childhood, you heard countless statements that sounded harmless but quietly built a mesquite, distorted formula inside you. When you do well, you deserve praise. When you excel, you deserve love. When you succeed, you deserve to stay. Compliments only came when you earned high scores, when you behaved according to adults' expectations, when you made others pleased. But when you were tired or wrong or slow or weak, all you received was silence, disappointment, or comparison. Slowly, an invisible measuring system formed within you. You no longer saw yourself as someone valuable simply by being born, but as a project that must constantly prove its worth, a profile that must always look perfect so it would not be rejected. You were not aware of it, but your soul memorized a language foreign to me, the language of conditions, of scoring, of rankings, of the eyes of the world. My child, I see clearly the moments when you rush to conclude that you are worthless just because a plan failed, a door closed, a person walked away, or an unwanted mistake occurred. You have not learned to distinguish between, I messed up one thing, and I am a messed up person, between, I haven't achieved that yet, and I am unworthy of anything good. In your world where the voices around you keep repeating the same message, everything is reduced to performance. Grades determine value, titles determine importance, income determines respect, and appearance determines the right to be loved. I understand why your heart has been shaped this way. For many years, instead of being taught that you are precious because you belong to me, you were taught that you are only accepted when you do not disappoint anyone. My child, let me lift that veil. Your true worth does not lie in what you do, but in the one who made you. Before you completed any task, before you achieved any accomplishment, before you impressed anyone, I already knew your name, already loved you, and already called you my own. But the voices around you crept in, little by little, teaching you the opposite. When you lost your job, people asked, so what are you doing now? When you failed an exam, they asked, why didn't you try harder? When you were exhausted, they expected one more effort from you. No one intended to break you, but a world obsessed with achievement made you believe that if you do not produce something worthy, you are not worthy of attention. You began to see yourself through the eyes of the market, through comparison, competition, and hierarchy, instead of through the gentle gaze I have always had for you. My child, there is something I want you to look at honestly. Many times, the voices that misdirect you do not come from strangers, but from the people you love most, people who themselves are bound by fear and pressure. They were taught that only the capable survive, only the strong endure, and only those who are better than others avoid being trampled. When they insist that you must strive, must succeed, must bring honor to the family, they are not trying to belittle you. They are merely repeating what they were once taught. But even if their intentions are rooted in concern or affection, their message still distorts your heart. You become accustomed to examining yourself through the lens of others. Did anyone praise me today? Did anyone acknowledge me? Did anyone remember me? Did I do enough to make them proud? Am I becoming a burden to someone? And so, each day you step into the world like a contestant in an invisible competition, where the judges are the eyes around you, and the prize is a fragile moment of feeling like you have value. My child, I see each time you scramble to fix things, not because you genuinely long to grow, but because you are terrified of being rejected. I see each time you accept responsibilities beyond your strength, not because you truly want to serve, but because you fear that saying no will make you disposable. I see each time you force a smile while carrying deep fatigue because you believe that if you are not cheerful, not useful, not positive, you will be pushed aside. I do not blame you, for your soul was taught wrongly. And when a child is taught wrongly long enough, it begins to believe that the lie is truth. But now, I come to remind you, that is not my voice. My child, one of the most subtle deceptions is the voice of the crowd. It is not always loud. Often, it is simply the quiet standards everyone accepts. People praise those who rise high, yet rarely embrace those who struggle below. They tell stories of rags to riches, yet seldom tell stories of the ones who remain faithfully and quietly in small, unnoticed places. Social media fills your vision with images of extraordinary success, radiant moments, and seemingly perfect lives. Slowly, you forget that you are only seeing edited fragments, and then you turn to judge yourself by a standard that is not real. You fail to notice that your eyes have drifted away from me and fixed themselves on the world's invisible scoreboard. Every time you think, they are ahead of me, they are better than I am, they are more talented than I am, you diminish your own worth, as if I love you less because you do not match them. My child, I want you to pause and ask yourself, When did you begin allowing others to decide your worth? When did numbers, titles, compliments, and likes become the measuring stick you use to evaluate yourself? When did their silence become, in your mind, my silence? When did the furrow in their eyebrow become the judgment you assumed came from me? My child, I have never signed my name beneath any verdict declaring you useless, insignificant, unnecessary, or unworthy. Those voices may come from the wounds of others, from their fears, from the biases of this age, or even from the enemy who always seeks to pull you away from me, but never not once do. They come from my heart. I want you to understand one thing with absolute clarity. Achievements can change, but value does not. Achievements rise and fall with seasons, opportunities, circumstances, health, and environment, but your worth in my eyes does not fluctuate. On the day you stumble, that worth does not decrease. On the day you rise again, that worth does not increase, it remains whole, because it is not based on what you do, but on who you are in me. What you do may bring joy to many, may become a channel of blessing for them, but it is not a test for me to decide whether or not I love you. I am not an audience scoring your performance. I am a father holding you, even when you step off the stage feeling like you have ruined everything. My child, let me recalibrate the compass within you. Every time you hear an opinion from the outside, pause and ask, is this a voice drawing me closer to God, or a voice pulling me away from Him? Every time you compare yourself to someone else, remind yourself, they and I were never created to run the same race. Every time you feel yourself leaning toward achievement as the measure of worth, return to the essential. Question: if today I accomplish nothing remarkable, am I still loved? My answer is always yes. And from that yes, you will finally be able to work, serve, give, and create freely, not to earn love, but from love. My beloved child, I am not calling you to laziness or passivity. I am calling you to do everything you do from a different foundation, the foundation of someone who already knows they are precious, not someone who is struggling to become worthy. When the foundation shifts, the way you see yourself, others, your work, your failures, and your successes also changes. You will no longer see the success of others as a threat to your value, but as the journey of brothers and sisters walking their own path. You will no longer see failure as a sentence, but as a lesson. You will no longer see work as a ladder to climb above others, but as a field in which goodness is planted. My child, I am inviting you to step out of the whirlpool that confuses value with achievement, out of the maze of external voices. I want to lead you into a new space where you work hard but are no longer obsessed with proving yourself, where you give your best but no longer attach your worth to the outcome, where you can say, I failed at this, without adding, therefore I am a failure. And from that place, you will begin to relearn how to listen to the only voice that is truly trustworthy. Mine, the one who called you precious even before you had done anything at all. My child, there is something I want you to understand clearly. Healing does not begin when you feel strong, when you have untangled every knot, or when you have gathered enough courage to face yourself. Healing begins the moment my light touches the place you once tried hardest to hide. Light does not reveal only beautiful things. It reveals the things you have not yet named, the things you are afraid to face, the things you lack the strength to admit. But my light does not arrive like a flame of judgment. It comes like the first light of dawn, touching the darkness not to burn it, but to dissolve the fog that has covered your heart for so long. My child, I see how often your soul trembles when the light begins to break through. You fear you will see too much, fear facing old fragments, fear wounds resurfacing, fear the past pulling you downward again. You think the light is hurting you further, but in truth, the light merely reveals what has hurt you all along, only before it hid in the dark, leaving you unaware of where the pain came from. You feel the pain intensify not because the light creates it, but because for the first time you are seeing it clearly. And, my child, remember this. Seeing your pain clearly is not regression. It is the first evidence of healing. My light does not touch you so that you may collapse. My light touches you so that you may begin to breathe again. My child, when light appears, something extraordinary happens. The things you once believed were problems of the present turn out to be fragments from years long past. You thought you were exhausted because of work, but in truth, you were worn out from years of trying to prove your worth. You thought you were hurt because someone said something wrong, but in reality, the pain came from how their words touched an old, false belief you had carried since childhood. You thought your fears came from present threats, but they were only echoes of the nights you once trembled in silence. When my light shines upon you, every intertwined thread between past and present emerges, and you begin to see that you are not as weak as you thought. You have simply been carrying too many wounds that were never healed. My child, I want you to know that my light never exposes you to shame. Light exposes to deliver you. You have lived too long in self-protection mode, trying to hide what you feared to face, trying to forget what you did not want to remember, trying to lock away every dark room in your soul. But what you lock away does not disappear. It only lies still in the shadows, accumulating, tightening, then seeping into your actions, your reactions, and your words. When I touch those places, every door you once used to barricade yourself begins to open, not because I force them open, but because your soul can no longer bear the weight of what it has been carrying. You may feel as though you are breaking, but in truth you are only beginning to open. My child, my light works in a way completely different from the gaze of the world. The world shines a light in order to judge. I shine to heal. The world shines to compare. I shine to redeem. The world shines to expose fault. I shine to find the places where you have been wounded and to Klavik, to bring you home. So when you begin to see the most honest parts of yourself, the parts you once feared so deeply that you denied them, do not think I am distancing myself from you. On the contrary, it is the clearest sign that I am drawing closer than ever, because only when you feel safe with me do you dare allow light to touch the places you once believed were unshowable. When light comes, you no longer have to pretend to be perfect. You only need to be honest. My child, the journey of healing does not happen through one blazing moment of awakening, but begins in the quiet seconds, when light first brushes against the darkest corner. When that light arrives, you will begin to see that what you once considered your nature was often only a reflex born from pain. You will see that your irritability was a shield protecting a heart that once was unheard. You will see that your avoidance was the survival instinct of a soul that once felt abandoned. You will see that your demand for perfection was your attempt to prevent yourself from failing again. You will see that your self-blame was the old voice from the days when no one defended you. And when all this comes into view, you will finally understand that you are not broken. You were simply never healed. My child, my light does not shine only on your past. It also shines upon your future. It illuminates the potential you never noticed because you were too fixated on your shortcomings. It illuminates the child stage, abilities you once believed were not for you. It illuminates the beauty you thought did not exist within you. Light does not only reveal what is wrong, light awakens what is right. It does not merely expose wounds, it reveals the gifts I placed in you. It does not only show what must be released, it shows what must be kept. Sometimes, what you fear most is not your old pain, but the goodness I am preparing for you. My child, when light touches you, you also begin to see clearly what darkness has distorted for so long. You were never alone. What made your suffering feel heavier was not the nature of the pain itself, but the illusion that you had to carry it alone. When I bring light in, the walls of isolation begin to fall. You begin to sense that I am no longer distant, no longer silent, no longer cold. You begin to see my hand, even though you once believed it had withdrawn. You come to realize that I was there when you cried in the dark, when you trembled in fear, when you felt misunderstood and unseen. Light does not only shine on what is within you, light shines on what is within me so that you may finally see that I have never left you. Oh, my beloved child, here is a truth I want you to carve deep into your heart. The things that come into the light are not revealed to destroy you, but to lead you into the path of true healing. Healing is not covering your wounds with a layer of false calm. Healing is not forcing yourself to be strong. Healing is not pretending to forget what happened. Healing is the courage to face the truth without running away. Healing is allowing me to step into the deepest place, the darkest place, the most painful place. And from that very place, I rebuild you, not the person you tried to become, but the true person I created you to be. My child, I want to bring you back to the innermost part of yourself, the place before pain shaped you, before fear distorted you, before the events of life molded you in ways you did not even notice. I want to show you who you are in my eyes, not who you have been taught to believe you are by the world. For there is a truth your soul has forgotten for far too long. You were created with a sacred, steady, beautiful identity that in no way depends on what has happened to you. Yet over the years, wounds, judgments, fears, and expectations have layered themselves over that identity again and again, until you no longer recognized who you truly were. My child, I want you to imagine again the moment I breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. Before any action, before any mistake, before any achievement, before any season of brokenness, the very first thing Adam had was the breath that came from me. And so his true identity, and the identity of all humanity, never began with doing. It began with being born from my breath. The same is true for you. Before the world ever named you, I had already named you in my heart. Before you carried wounds, you carried the image of the Creator. Before you were bent by the things you endured, you were whole in my original intention. And what I create, I never abandon. But, my child, I know well that the moment your soul began to drift away from itself did not come only from a major event. It often began with small fragments. A careless word that made your heart close just a little. A comparison that made you shrink back just a little. A disappointment that made you doubt yourself just a little. An instance of being left behind that made you believe you were not worth keeping. Little by little, you changed to fit in, changed to survive, changed so you would not be hurt again, and you did not realize that in the process, you were losing your true self. You began living as a reaction to pain, rather than as the original version I crafted. My child, I want you to understand the difference between ego and essence. Essence is the deepest part of you, the part I breathed into you, the part that bears my image, the part that loves truth, craves light, and seeks what is pure. It is the part that cannot be erased or destroyed. Your essence remains, no matter how covered, distorted, or buried under layers of defense it may be. Your essence is what heaven recognizes, what darkness fears most, and what I see even when you no longer see yourself. Ego, on the other hand, is the shell built by your pain to keep you safe. Ego is the voice that tells you to be strong at all times. Ego is the armor that keeps you from trusting anyone. Ego is the habit of shrinking whenever your emotions rise. Ego is the mask you wear so no one touches the wound beneath. Ego is not you. Ego is a survival mechanism formed from the moments you were hurt with no one to heal. You, essence, is what I placed within you. Ego is what fear created so you could endure. My child, I do not blame you for your ego. Without it, you would not have survived the dark seasons you walked through. You once needed it. It helped you stand when no one stood with you. It protected you from being crushed by storms too heavy for your childhood, too overwhelming for your trembling soul. But now, that same ego has become an armor that no longer fits, one that tightens around you, that makes it hard to breathe, that stiffens your heart until you can no longer love, receive, or connect. And what I desire is not to destroy you. I desire to help you remove what no longer belongs to you, so that your true essence may be seen. My child, your true essence is not as fragile as you think. Your essence is stronger than darkness, steadier than fear, deeper than every wound, brighter than every cruel word ever spoken over you. You believe you are weak, but weakness is only the condition of the ego. Your essence is not like that. Your essence knows how to rise. Your essence knows how to love rightly. Your essence knows how to find me in the wilderness. Your essence knows how to discern what is true from what is counterfeit. Your essence knows it is not defined by past failures or achievements. Your essence is the place where I dwell, and that place cannot be taken from you. My child, I want you to reimagine yourself before fear entered. When you were small, your heart was wide open, your gaze was pure, and your soul was soft like fresh, rain-soaked soil. You believed good before you believed harm. You forgave more easily than you held grudges. You ran to me without hesitation. But over the years, the blows to your spirit taught you to shrink, to curl inward, to shield yourself with hardened layers. You were not wrong to do so, it was instinct. Yet now, I want to bring you back to the original state of your soul, not to naivety, but to freedom. Freedom to open your heart without fear. Freedom to love without defensiveness. Freedom to cry without shame. Freedom to rise without self-condemnation. Freedom to return to the intention I placed within you before any wound was ever formed. My child, your true self is not the person your pain created. Your true self is the one I formed in my heart before the dawn of creation. That self is not frantic to prove worth, not trembling under rejection, not harsh toward itself. That self knows to whom it belongs. That self knows it is loved without condition. That self knows it has a place without having to fight for it. That self knows value does not come from accomplishment but from the breath I placed inside. That self knows it does not need to strive to be worthy, but only to walk in the truth that it has already been chosen. My beloved child, true healing begins when you dare to distinguish these two things. The one who reacts within you is the ego, but the one who longs for me is the essence. When you know this, confusion no longer rules you. You will no longer condemn yourself each time the ego rises. You will simply recognize that it is the part of you that once helped you survive, and you will learn to return to your essence little by little, day by day, breath by breath. And my child, I promise you this. I will never call you by the name of your ego. I will only call you by the name of your essence. You are the one I love. You are the one I see. You are the one I breathe into. You are the one who bears my image. You are the one whose worth cannot be measured. You are the one I guard. You are the one I choose. You are the one I place inside my design. You are the one darkness fears, because my light is always within you. My child, today I want to speak to you about something you have asked in your heart many times but never dared to say aloud. Why did I give to you the power to choose? Why did I not create you like a machine that always does what is right, always obeys, always walks in truth, so that you would never fall, never suffer from your own errors, never carry wounds carved by your own decisions? You look at the times you chose poorly, the turns that led you into dead ends, the relationships that drained you, the habits that pulled you far from me, and you ask, if God loves me, why didn't He program me to always choose rightly so I wouldn't have to pay the price? My child, I have heard this question not once, but many times, in the heavy nights when your heart was burdened, and I do not avoid it. I want to answer you with all the gentleness and honor I have for your soul. My child, if I take away your ability to choose, I also take away your ability to love. True love cannot exist without freedom. If I created you as a being who could only say yes, 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 and never say no, those yeses would lose all meaning. They would be the echoes of programming, not the response of a heart. I do not long for an army of perfectly synchronized, emotionless beings. I long for children who know me, understand me, and willingly choose me, even though they could walk away. My love for you is not the kind that forces you, cages you, or traps you in a version of perfection. It is a love willing to bear the risk that you might say no, that you might wander, that you might choose paths that wound me, all to preserve the dignity I placed in you, the dignity of a being with will, with heart, with the sacred capacity to answer me freely rather than mechanically. My child, in the Gospel of Galatians 5:1, it is written, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Freedom is not an abstract idea. It is a gift I paid a very costly price for. If all I wanted was for you to become a perfect system that always does what is right, I would not have needed to pay such a price. I would simply rewrite the code within you. But I chose another way, the way of the cross, the way of invitation rather than coercion. I redeemed you so you could freely love me, not so you would be bound to me like a voiceless servant. This freedom confuses you, because it opens the possibility of choosing wrongly, yet it also opens the possibility of love, of growth, of genuine transformation from within. My child, I know there are days when you wish you had not been given such a choice, because you think that if you were forced to do the right thing, life would be less complicated, with fewer wounds, fewer regrets. But if I were to take away your ability to choose, you would no longer be you. You would be a hollow version of yourself functioning correctly, but without a soul. Your sorrow is real, but so is your laughter. The tears of repentance you shed hurt deeply, but they are precious. The words, "Lord, this time I choose you," spoken after you once chose wrongly, are worth infinitely more to me than a flawless sequence of correct actions that never came from your heart. I am not enamored with lifeless perfection. I honor every trembling step you freely take with me. My child, look and see that even in your misguided choices, I am still there, not as a cold judge, waiting for the moment to condemn you, but as a patient Father walking beside you, so that when the truth dawns on you, you do not sink into despair. I take no pleasure in seeing you choose what wounds you. I grieve with you, but I do not intervene by breaking your will, for that would deny what I placed in you from the very beginning, the ability to respond to love voluntarily. Instead, I choose to step into the aftermath of your choices, using the very wounds you incur to teach you about worth, about truth, about life, about compassion. Not everything that happens is my will, but nothing is wasted when you place it in my hands. Even wrong decisions can become gateways that lead you deeper into me, if you allow me to touch them. My child, I gave you the power to choose, not because I want to withdraw from your life, but because I want you to walk with me as a companion, not as an instrument. When you choose love over resentment, you step into the same current that flows from my heart. When you choose forgiveness, you agree with my character. When you choose honesty in a world of deceit, you stand with me. When you choose to return after many attempts to run away, you step onto the path I prepared long before. Every such choice, even the smallest one, carries eternal weight. If everything within you were programmed, you would not truly collaborate with me. You would merely execute commands. But I, my child, want you as a companion, a partner, one I can trust and entrust responsibilities to. I do not need more power. I desire to share my heart. My child, I know your fear when you face freedom. Freedom comes with responsibility, and responsibility feels heavy. You fear choosing wrongly, so you want someone else to decide for you, to choose on your behalf, to bear the consequences in your place. But if you live that way, you will never discover the depth I have placed within your soul. I did not cast you into life and then turn away. I gave you the Holy Spirit as your comforter, your guide, the gentle whisper within you whenever you begin to stray. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. True freedom is the ability to clearly see what is right and have the strength to choose it, even when everything around you pulls you in the opposite direction. I did not merely give you the power of choice, I gave you my presence so you would never choose alone. My child, remember that I do not look at you through the lens of how many times you have chosen wrongly, but through the lens of how many times you return. Every time you come back and say, "Lord, I chose wrongly. Please help me choose differently," heaven stirs. Every time you break an old cycle to step into a new path, I rejoice. Every time you refuse an invitation that would draw you away from me, though no one on earth notices, I remember. It is these small choices that shape a life of true substance, not a few outwardly impressive moments. If I were to take away your ability to choose wrongly, I would also take away the glory of the moments when you choose rightly in the unseen places, where only you and I are watching. My beloved child, I give you choice because I believe in your capacity to grow, in the identity I have placed within you, and in the transformation my grace can accomplish in your life. My love does not collapse before your moments of weakness. It waits with patience, it calls with gentleness, it lifts with endurance, and it never tires of hearing you say, "This time I choose you." You are not defined by what you chose in the past. You are defined by the one who chose you before the foundation of the world. And because I chose you first, you now have the ability to choose me, not as a programmed being, but as a free child, returning to the arms of their Father with an awakened will, a living heart, and a restored identity. My child, I know there is a fear buried within you, one you have not spoken for a long time. You are afraid that if you place your will in my hands, you will disappear. You fear you will become a shadow, someone who only obeys without a voice, a being who does what is required but is no longer themselves. You fear that if you surrender your personal desires, your plans, the expectations you built for your life, you will become invisible. My child, I hear that fear clearly, not because it is true, but because you have lived far too long in a world that taught you to misunderstand me. The world tells you that surrender means losing your power, that letting go means defeat, that giving something away makes you lesser. But, my child, in my kingdom everything is reversed. What you release is what you keep. What you give is what you receive back more deeply. What you dare to place in my hands is what becomes protected, nourished, and lifted up. You do not lose yourself when you entrust your will to me. On the contrary, for the first time you begin to see yourself as you truly are, not shaped by fear, not scarred by the past, not sculpted by the expectations others placed upon you, but formed according to the image in which I created you. My child, you must understand that your true will, the will that is pure, untainted, and free from fear, has been in your 2000 heart since before the beginning of time, because I myself placed it there. But through the years, that will became covered by many layers: the need to be accepted, the obsession to prove yourself, the desire to please everyone around you, the instinct to run from the feeling of inadequacy, the fear of being left behind. And so you no longer recognize what you truly want. You call something your dream, but often it is simply a reaction to a wound that has not been healed. You call something your ambition, but in truth it is your attempt to compensate for old emptiness. You call something your choice, but many times it is merely an escape from the fear of abandonment. My child, this is why, when you place your will in my hands, you do not lose yourself. You lose the version of you that fear has molded. You lose the hardened shell you wore for protection. You lose the cords that tied your soul to things that never belonged to you. You lose the echoes that told you that you must struggle alone. And when everything that is not truly you falls away, your real self comes into view, the one I have loved from the beginning. You will discover that what I desire for you does not oppose your deepest longing. Rather, my will is the truest, most peaceful, and most complete expression of the desires you held when your soul was still innocent. My child, you have never lost your identity by drawing near me. You lose your identity when you try to walk far from definite me, when you cling to control, when you attempt to manage every outcome, when you rely solely on your own strength. Your soul becomes small, tense, and distorted. But when you allow me to touch your will, I do not destroy it, I refine it. Just as gold does not lose its nature when it enters the fire, only its impurities are removed. Your true will is revealed when you give it to me. You do not become someone else, you become yourself for the first time. My child, I am not calling you to erase yourself. I am calling you to lay down the false self that pain has constructed. I am not asking you to become nameless or voiceless, without thought, desire, personality, or uniqueness. I gave you imagination, longing, dreams, and originality, all designed within me. When you step into my will, you do not dissolve into an indistinguishable mass. You become clearer, brighter, wider, and deeper. I do not blur you, I illuminate you. I do not suffocate you, I free you from what has been suffocating you. My child, do you remember when you were little, how you acted with such naturalness, without performing, without fear of judgment, without pretending for anyone? You used to sing without worrying about the wrong notes. You used to laugh without wondering who was watching. You used to speak your dreams without fearing ridicule. You used to run toward me without defensiveness. That was your true self, before the wounds taught you to protect yourself. When you entrust your will to me, you return to that state, free, light, unforced, no longer trying to become a copy of someone else. You do not lose yourself. You lose the artificial layers that never belonged to you. My child, I know why you fear surrendering your will to me. You have been controlled before. You have been imposed upon. You have been forced to do things against your own heart. You have been demanded of beyond your limits. You have lived in relationships where your voice was not valued, and because you were wounded by those experiences, you fear that I will treat you the same way. But I am not like them. I do not force you. I do not manipulate you. I do not dismiss the desires within you. I do not silence your voice. I help it resonate in the right key. I do not take away your freedom of choice. I guide your choices so they no longer pull you into darkness. I do not extinguish the fire in your heart. I direct that fire so it no longer burns you down, but becomes a light that illuminates your path. My child, I want you to know a truth you must carve deep within yourself. When you place your will in my hands, you begin learning how to live without being driven by fear, the past, wounds, or outside pressure. You no longer walk according to the push of anxiety, but according to the gentle voice that leads. You no longer make decisions out of panic, but from peace. You no longer choose a path just because others tell you it is the direction you should go, but because I give you an inner clarity that cannot be shaken. And it is in that very moment, the moment you dare to lay your will down, that you rediscover the person you always wanted to become, but never had the chance to truly live as. My child, for many years you have tried to find peace in the way you believed was right. You withdrew from what hurt you. You stayed silent before what pierced you. You avoided difficult conversations, and you did everything possible to keep the surface of your life from being disturbed. But what you have called peace was only a thin mist, temporarily covering the unresolved places inside you. It was like locking a messy room and hanging a sign on the door that reads, "Cleaned," simply so no one would walk in. But that room still exists, heavy, chaotic, cluttered, waiting for the day it bursts forth even stronger. My child, peace does not come from avoidance. Peace comes from light and truth. What you push out of sight does not disappear. It simply sits in the dark, patiently waiting for the moment it resurfaces. My child, I want you to understand that false peace always beckons you with the promise of immediate comfort. It feels like the soft exhale when you decide to deal with it tomorrow, like the brief relief when you say, "Maybe I should just let it go," like the quiet moment you hide in work, entertainment, or silence so you won't have to look directly at what hurts you. False peace whispers sweetly in your ear, "Don't touch that issue, it's too exhausting. Just let time heal it. Don't ruin the atmosphere with the truth. If you speak up, people will leave you. If you face it, the pain will be worse." But, my child, those whispers do not come from me. They come from fear, from old wounds, from the darkness that wants to keep you living in patterns of avoidance. False peace may silence you, but it will not heal you. It helps you avoid a short pain, only to stretch out a long, lingering ache. It gives you a surface calm while binding your heart with hidden anxiety. It is like a thin layer of dust covering the surface of a lake, making you believe the water is still, but the slightest breeze turns everything turbulent again. My child, true peace is entirely different. True peace does not promise that you will never feel pain. It promises that even when you hurt, you will not be abandoned. True peace does not hide what is wrong. It shines light so what is wrong can be made right. True peace does not force you into silence. It gives you the safety to speak the truth without trembling. True peace does not push you toward avoidance. It guides you through the dark so you can step into a wider, brighter space. True peace does not flee from storms. It stands beside you in the storm and strengthens your soul until the storm no longer has power over you. My child, you have grown used to measuring peace by how comfortable something feels, but comfort is not the evidence of peace. There are moments when you cry until your chest tightens, yet true peace is growing within you. There are nights when you face painful truth, yet true peace is taking root. There are confessions that make your voice shake, yet true peace is finding its way into your heart. True peace is like an underground stream, quiet, unseen, unglamorous, yet strong, steady, and never counterfeit. My child, I want to show you the most delicate choices that quietly mislead your soul. They are not loud, not violent, not malicious. They appear as harmless, small, not worth worrying about decisions. Yet these are the very choices that slowly lead your soul away from true peace. One of these choices is choosing silence instead of speaking the truth. You believe that silence will preserve harmony, but in reality, it preserves unresolved matters. Every time you stay silent when you were meant to speak, you place a small stone upon your chest. One or two stones are unnoticeable, but over the years, your entire soul becomes a burden you can no longer carry. Another subtle choice is choosing to please others instead of being honest with yourself. You fear that speaking your true thoughts might disappoint someone, hurt someone's feelings, or cause misunderstandings. So you choose silence, choose to shrink, choose to bend yourself to keep the peace. But that is not peace. That is the slow disintegration of your soul. When you do not live according to the truth within you, real peace cannot remain. Another choice is covering your emotions with busyness. You tell yourself that you are very busy, that you have to work, that you do not have time to feel sad, but in truth, you are using busyness to avoid facing what lies deeper. Work does not heal the soul. It only helps you temporarily forget that your soul has been crying out for help. And when the busyness fades, the emptiness returns with greater force. My child, one of the most subtle choices of all is choosing what seems right instead of what is right. False peace always wears the garment of reason. It whispers, "You must be strong. You should not bother anyone. You should solve it yourself. You should be happy. You must appear fine. You must not let anyone see you weak." These statements sound so reasonable, yet they form a wall that blocks you from the light. True peace is not an immediate sense of lightness. True peace is the fruit of truth. Truth is like the first sunlight after a long night. It may sting your eyes, but it is also the signal of life. Truth may make you uncomfortable for a moment, but it opens the door through which real peace enters. Darkness always says, "Don't look at that, it will hurt," but light says, "Look at it, and I will stand beside you." My child, I want you to remember what you have forgotten. True peace is not a feeling. True peace is a foundation. Feelings change with the day, with the weather, with hormones, with the words of others, but a foundation does not change. That foundation is my presence, my truth, my light, my word. When you stand upon that foundation, storms may blow, voices may rise, your heart may tremble, but your soul will not be carried away. True peace does not promise you a life without storms. True peace promises that the storms cannot drown you. My child, I know there are seasons when you feel like you are standing at a crossroads where every sign is blurred, every voice speaks at once, and every thought feels like tangled threads. You try to analyze, calculate, and collect opinions from many people, yet the more you do so, the more confused your heart becomes. You long for a clear voice saying, "Go this way, choose that, let go of this," but instead, all you hear is a thick silence surrounding you. In those confusing days, you often think, "I am far away, that I am not speaking, that I am leaving you to figure things out alone." But my child, it is precisely in those moments of uncertainty that I am teaching you something deeper. To learn, to recognize peace as an inner compass, as a second breath that creates a path through the chaos. Peace is not merely a gentle feeling that helps you sleep. Peace is the inner direction I place within your soul so you may know which way to go even when nothing outside is clear. My child, peace is like the needle of a compass. It does not tell you every step, every turn, every detail. It only points to the right direction. It does not give you the full map, but it gives your heart a steady orientation. When you face choices, you often ask, "What will give me the best result? What is the least risky? What will keep me from losing anything?" But the question I want to teach you to ask is, where is true peace whispering? There are paths that seem bright, safe, logical, beneficial, and promising, yet every time you consider them, your heart tightens, your chest feels restricted, and your breath shortens. Conversely, there are choices that appear unclear, small, unnoticed by others, without applause or praise. Yet whenever you turn your heart toward them, an inner spaciousness gently opens, as if a small door unlocks and allows fresh air to enter. That is peace, not the comfort of avoiding risk, but the quiet ease that comes from light and truth. My child, I call peace the second breath because it is not something that arrives when everything is perfect. It appears right in the middle of the moments when you feel out of breath, when you run too fast in worry. Your thoughts become like a frantic, uneven breath that exhausts your heart. Your first breath in those moments is your natural reflex. Fear, calculation, overthinking, imagining the worst scenarios. But if you allow yourself to pause even for a moment, Close your eyes, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly. You will begin to hear the second breath, the peace I am longing to give you. That second breath does not say, "There is no problem at all," but it whispers, "You are not alone in this." It does not erase every question, but it softens the panic. It does not instantly clear the path, but it stands firm like my hand resting on your shoulder, saying, "Take one small step at a time. I am walking with you." My child, if you want to learn to trust me, you must train yourself to live by a rhythm different from the rushed rhythm of the world, the rhythm of breath, of stillness, of honesty, and of a spirit that knows how to wait. First is the rhythm of breath. Do not underestimate the power of inhaling and exhaling with an awareness of my presence. When your heart is in turmoil, pause, place your hand over your chest, and breathe slowly. Let every inhale be a quiet whisper, "God is here," and every exhale a gentle confession, "I surrender to you." In this way, your breath will begin to align with the rhythm of my peace. You will see the anxious questions retreat, the spiraling thoughts slow down, and within the silent space between two breaths, you will recognize that I am there, quiet yet near, gentle yet real. My child, after breath comes stillness. The stillness I speak of is not the absence of external sound, but the inner space where you stop arguing, stop defending yourself, stop trying to convince yourself that everything is fine when your heart knows it is not. That stillness begins when you sit before me and say, "Lord, I no longer know what to do." In what seems like a moment of weakness, your soul is actually freed from the burden of having to hold everything together on your own. Stillness allows you to hear the gentle voice that has long been buried beneath the noise of fear and opinion. In stillness, peace is no longer an idea. It becomes an experience, like water that ceases to be stirred and begins to reflect the sky. My child, then comes honesty. You cannot experience true peace if you are not honest with yourself and with me. When you pretend you are not sad while your heart is breaking, when you say, "I believe," while deep down you are full of doubt, when you declare, "I surrender," but still cling tightly to everything, peace will remain outside and cannot enter within. I do not seek eloquent declarations that sound beautiful but ring hollow. I want to hear the truth, even if it is clumsy, even if it is soaked with tears. When you say to me, "Lord, I'm afraid. I'm not sure I can believe. I don't see the way forward. I'm angry," it is in those very confessions that the door of your heart opens. Honesty does not shock me. Honesty only dismantles the wall you built between us. And once that wall falls, peace finds a way in, reaching the hidden places you thought I would never touch. My child, lastly comes the spirit of waiting. This is the hardest part because your soul has grown accustomed to the pace of the world, where everything must be fast, clear, and immediate. You want answers today, detailed instructions right now, certainty without delay. But I am not an automated response system. I am a father, a guide, a companion. I use time as a mold to shape your trust. When I make you wait, it is not because I enjoy prolonging your pain. I am training you to stand firm even when you cannot see everything. In the waiting, if you allow yourself to remain near me, you will discover something unexpected. The problem outside may remain the same, but something within you has changed. Fear loses its size, panic begins to melt, and peace becomes the second breath that carries you through each day. My child, learning to trust is not a lesson you master once, it is a rhythm of life. Each day, you will have the chance to choose, to chase after panic or return to your breath, to drown in noise or turn towards stillness, to hide or be honest, to demand immediate answers, or to wait in peace. Each small choice shifts you either toward me or away from me. But I do not judge you in this process. I walk with you patiently. Every time you fail, every time you panic again, every time you forget peace, I do not turn away. I gently remind you, my child, stop for a moment, inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and remember that I am here. My beloved child, the peace I promise you is not the cheap kind that comes from avoidance. It is a deep, steady stillness born from light and truth. It becomes a compass on the days when you cannot find your way, a second breath in the moments when you feel you can no longer breathe. And as you learn to live in rhythm with breath, with quiet, with honesty, and with patient waiting beside me, you will begin to see that even when circumstances leave many questions unanswered, your soul carries one single answer that is enough for everything. I am here. And wherever my presence is, true peace is established. My child, I know there were moments when you stood before a closed door for a very long time, knocking without rest, praying without hearing a sound from heaven, waiting until your strength ran thin, only to receive a heavy silence. You once wondered, does God not hear me? Have I not prayed enough? Am I unworthy? So He withholds His answer. Many nights you lay on your bed staring at the ceiling, carrying within you a question too painful to say aloud. If you love me, why do you let this door stay shut? My child, I have heard every sigh, every whispered plea, every disappointment you did not dare share with anyone. And today I want to speak to you with gentleness but also with seriousness. Not every unopened door is a rejection. Many closed doors are the deepest form of protection I give your soul. My child, there are things you call opportunities, yet I see clearly that they are traps, wrapped in glittering paper. You see their appearance, promises of promotion, affirmation, affection, recognition, the feeling of being chosen, lifted, valued. You imagine the future looking brighter if that door just opens. But I look deeper than your eyes can reach. I see the dependence that would bind your feet if you stepped through. I see the wounds that would wait for you behind sweet words. I see the years your soul would be worn down by an environment that does not belong to you. I see the version of yourself you would lose in order to keep what you believe is a blessing. You see only a few steps ahead. I see the entire road, and because I see, I am willing to close the very door you are pleading for me to open. My child, you must understand this. I never close a door just to leave you standing there in disappointment. I close it because I know there is something behind it your heart is not yet strong enough to bear, or because I have another path prepared, one which, if I revealed it now, you would not believe. There are doors that, if left open, you would enter with enthusiasm, pour your whole heart into, invest all your hope in, only to one day break so deeply you would fear you could never rise again. I do not want that for you. I would rather let you feel sadness for a short season, confusion for a little while, frustration over a no you cannot yet understand, than let you walk into years of silent, inward collapse. My child, some doors I close not because what lies behind them is bad, but because it no longer fits who you are becoming. There are relationships that once lifted you up, but if continued, would become chains. There are jobs that once taught you much, but if you cling to them, they would become a comfort zone that imprisons you. There are dreams that once pulled you forward, but if pursued past their time, would keep you from the deeper calling I am now leading you into. I do not close doors to deny the good they once brought. I close them because I know their season has ended. If you remain where I have already finished working, you will not be able to step into the new thing I am preparing. My child, there are times I close a door not because the position or opportunity is dangerous, but because your heart is not yet free enough to step into it and still belong wholly to me. I know there are things which, if I gave them to you now, would capture your heart instead of drawing it closer to mine. I know there are heights which, if reached too soon, would blur the line between human applause and my gentle voice. I know that certain blessings can become burdens when they arrive before your roots grow deep enough to hold you firm, and so I choose to protect you from the very thing you believe you need most. It is not stinginess. It is the safeguarding of your soul before granting the desires you ask for. My child, there are times when I close a door simply to teach you to turn your eyes away from appearances and look into the deeper places. You have grown accustomed to measuring the worth of your life by the doors that open, how many opportunities appear, how many invitations you receive, how many people need you, how many places welcome you. When a door closes, you assume your value has decreased. But a closed door is an invitation for you to ask the question anew. What truly determines who I am? I close doors so you may learn to separate yourself from external measurements. I close them so you may know that even without any invitations, without any titles, without any praise, you are no less precious in my eyes. My child, behind every door that does not open are invisible movements you cannot see. I am rearranging people you have not yet met. I am adjusting time, space, and circumstances. I am healing certain places within you before you step into a new season. I am touching the lives of those you will one day meet, those to whom you will become a blessing. I am building bridges your eyes cannot yet perceive. When you stand before a closed door, you see only a wall. I see the tunnel beneath it, the pathway behind it, the other gate that will open at the appointed time. You call it delay, I call it arrangement. You call it being stuck, I call it protection. My child, I know you are weary from waiting for answers, weary from not understanding the reason, weary from having to explain to others why nothing is falling into place yet. But you do not owe anyone an explanation. Let me be the only one who sees every detail from beginning to end. Allow yourself to admit, I don't understand, but I believe that if God closes something, He has a reason. That kind of faith is not blindness, it is the humility of a soul that recognizes it cannot see as far as its Father can. I am not asking you to pretend to be cheerful in front of a closed door. I am only inviting you to hand me your sadness, your confusion, your frustration, and allow me to use those very emotions to weave a deeper understanding between us. My beloved child, remember this. The door I open no one can close, and the door I close cannot be forced open without a price being paid in the soul. If you use all your strength to break into a place I have already closed off, you may enter it, but you will carry with you a sense of imbalance, anxiety, and instability, because you have moved against the current of peace I placed within you. I do not want to see you living in spaces where every step feels heavy, every day feels like a battle with your own conscience, every night feels like a struggle against the inner voice whispering, you don't belong here. I want you in places where peace has room to breathe, where your soul can find rest, where you grow in freedom rather than in strain. My child, when you stand before a door that does not open, allow yourself to ask me, but also allow me to answer in ways different from what you expected. I may not explain every detail, but I will always give you one thing, my presence. You may not know why that door is closed, but you can always know who is standing beside you. And once you take my hand, you will slowly realize that being held here for a while is far better than rushing into a place that was never meant for you. My child, some of the doors that close today will become your song of thanksgiving in the future. There will come a day when you look back and whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for not giving me what I wanted so badly at that time." On that day, you will see clearly what you are now only invited to trust. But until that day comes, I ask only one thing. Do not judge my love based on the state of a single door. My love does not rise and fall with opportunity. It does not open and close as the gates of this world do. My love stands right behind you, even when a silent door is in front of you. And it is that very love that will lead you to the place you are meant to be, at the exact moment when your soul is ready. My child, I know there are times when you think, my provision must arrive like an instant miracle, an unexpected door thrown wide open, a timely financial breakthrough falling into place, a clear answer appearing in a moment, or a sudden shift that changes everything overnight. And when those things do not happen, you assume I am silent, that I have not moved yet, that I am slowing down your life. But my child, you need to understand something far deeper. My provision does not only appear in forms your eyes can measure. There are provisions that make no sound, that carry no dazzling light, that impress no one, yet they are the very things that keep you standing through seasons you cannot even speak about. That is the most enduring, most silent, and most precious provision of all. I provide for you through the strength that helps you endure strength you do not even realize you are using every single day. My child, there have been so many mornings when you opened your eyes and thought you could not continue, and yet somehow you still rose, still stepped into the day, still carried on with your work, still faced your difficult emotions, still refused to give up. You thought it was simply your willpower, but in truth, it was the provision I placed within you quietly. I have upheld your soul every morning, every long night, every moment you felt you were about to collapse. Sustaining strength may not shine like a miracle, but it is a miracle one repeated so often that you have grown accustomed to it and no longer notice it. My child, I do not only provide strength so you can survive, I provide strength so you can withstand what once would have destroyed you. There are wounds that would have crushed you last year, but now you simply slow down, take a deep breath, and continue on. There are words that once would have broken you, but now they only make you pause for a moment before you regain your footing. There are seasons of loneliness that once would have paralyzed you, but now they become the very place where you learn to hear my voice more clearly. That is the strength I give, not the strength to run faster, but the strength to stand firm, the strength to face what must be faced, the strength to keep your heart from shattering. My child, my provision also comes as wisdom to choose. This wisdom is not extraordinary brilliance, not thunderous revelation, not the feeling of certainty you often long for. The wisdom I give is like a small lamp in the night, just enough to illuminate one step, yet precise, gentle, and safe. Many times you wish I would flood the entire path with light, but I illuminate only one step so you may learn to trust me one step at a time. You think it is delay. In reality, it is protection. The wisdom I give often comes through stillness, through the heaviness you feel when you are about to step into something wrong, through the sense of openness when you move toward what is right. It comes through thoughts you believe are your own, but that I have placed within you to keep you from harm. It comes through your uneasiness when you are about to make a harmful decision, for I do not allow your heart to feel at peace when you are walking against my plan. And it comes through that strange quietness you cannot explain, an invisible signal, telling you, this is the moment to stop, this is the time to wait, this is the step you should take, this is what you must release. My child, wisdom also arrives through sensitivity to truth. When you learn to distinguish between true peace and false peace, between my prompting and the pressure born of fear, you begin to live in a wisdom no book can teach. When you slow down enough to ask, does this bring light? Does this place make my soul shrink? Is fear pushing me instead of God leading me? It is in those moments that you are living within the wisdom I provide. And my child, there is another form of provision, one of the most important, yet one you often overlook, the people I place in your life at the right time. These people are not always radiant, not always arriving with grand gestures or dramatic timing. Sometimes they come softly, as a small sentence that keeps you from giving up, a simple embrace that reminds you you are not alone, a gentle reminder that brings you back to truth, or a quiet presence that calms the fear inside you. I send people into your life at the right moments, sometimes only for a season, sometimes for a single conversation, sometimes just for one night when you need someone to listen. They are not always the ones you expected. Sometimes they are people you never anticipated, people you are not close to, people you never imagined could understand you. Yet at the very moment you need, I place them on your path as a form of provision. Some are sent to remind you that you are loved far more than you realize. Some are sent to help you find the courage to release what you need to release. Some are sent to teach you to see things from a new angle. Some are sent simply to place a hand on your shoulder and say, you are strong enough to keep going. And my child, there are also people I remove from your life as a form of provision because their presence would pull you away from what I am building within you. My child, from the very beginning, when I created humanity, I declared something that has never changed. It is not good for man to be alone. I did not speak those words when humans were weak. I spoke them when Adam stood in Eden, when everything was perfect, when there was no darkness, no pain, no wounding. This means that even in the most complete state, human beings were never designed to live in isolation. Connection is not a remedy for weakness, it is the fundamental structure I wove into your soul. You were created for communion, for mutual support, for giving and receiving love, for having the presence of others soften the hardness in your heart like water softens dry earth. My child, you are not weak because you need other people. You become weak when you try to endure alone. You are not exhausted because your burden is too heavy, but because you insist on carrying it by yourself. You do not collapse because you lack faith, but because you cut yourself off from the hands I prepared to lift you up. You think standing alone is strength, but in my kingdom, strength is found when you know how to reach out and receive support. You think relying on others means dependence, but in my eyes, leaning on one another, is the way my love flows from my heart into humanity. My child, I know why you chose loneliness as a form of survival. There were times when you trusted someone and were hurt. You opened your heart and pain followed. You shared your deepest fears and were misunderstood. You invited someone into your sacred places, and they walked away at the moment you hoped they would stay. Because of those wounds, you decided, from now on, I will handle everything myself. I will not trouble anyone. I will not let anyone know when I am weak. You thought this would keep you safe, but in truth, you only locked your soul in a dark room where the pain is never healed, only repeated. Pain does not heal in isolation. It heals through connection. My child, you must understand that I use people to soothe the wounds of people. I use an embrace to mend a cracked heart. I use a timely word to pull someone back from the edge of despair. I use the quiet presence of a friend to fill the void you thought no one could understand. I use ordinary conversations to loosen the tight knots in your soul. You think I only act through miracles, but I act through people whose hearts I touch so they can become my hands and my voice on this earth. My child, I want you to remember that your pain does not require silence. It requires being seen. Your burden does not require you to become stronger. It requires sharing. Your soul does not need you to be an unbreakable warrior. It needs to be surrounded by those who will walk with you, lift you when you stumble, remind you of what you forget, and wipe your tears when you no longer have the strength to wipe them yourself. I did not create you to be strong on your own. I created you to be strong within community. Community is not the choice of the weak. It is the design of the Creator. My child, I know there are seasons when you lock yourself in silence because you fear bothering others, fear being judged, fear becoming a burden. You say, I don't want anyone to worry about me. But my child, there are people I have prepared specifically to care for you. There are hearts I have stirred so they can bring comfort to you. There are people I have placed along your path for the sole purpose of reminding you that you do not have to face anything alone. When you refuse support, you are not only denying your own need, you are denying the very way I move through others. My child, I designed this world with a sacred pattern. Grace does not flow only in a vertical line from me to you. It also moves horizontally from one person to another, from one heart to the next. One who is strong today lifts the one who is weak today. Tomorrow, the one who is weak will become the one who strengthens. No one is created to always be the giver, and no one is created to always be the receiver. This is the rhythm of communion I wove into humanity, giving and receiving, lifting and being lifted, offering and being offered. When you hold everything tightly to yourself, you disrupt that rhythm. But when you walk humbly and allow another to lift you, you restore the flow of grace I desire for you to experience. My child, my healing does not descend only through the words I speak. It also comes through the simple voice of a friend. Healing is not found only in the quiet moments you have alone with me. It is hidden in an afternoon when you dare to speak truthfully and say, I am exhausted. It is found in the moment you allow someone to see your real tears. It is found in the times you lay down your pride and admit, I need help. It is found in the humility to receive care, the very care you so easily give to others but hesitate to accept for yourself. There are healings that can happen only when you open your heart for someone to step inside. There are wounds that cannot mend in silence. There are fractures that require the presence of another. And, my child, I myself will choose who is allowed to enter that sacred place. Not everyone is invited, not everyone is worthy, not everyone will understand the tenderness within you. But I will send the right ones, those who will not break you, those who will not shame you, those who will not make you retreat, those who will love you with the kindness that comes from me. My child, you were not created to carry burdens alone, because those burdens are too sacred for only one person to bear. Joy is the same, tears are the same, gladness is the same. The deepest folds of your soul are not meant to be hidden away, but shared with the ones I place beside you. You are a part of a larger body, a piece of a greater picture, a breath in the choir I am composing. You are not alone, not because you must be strong, but because I do not permit you to remain in isolation. My beloved child, I want you to engrave this truth upon your heart. You were created to be supported, to be heard, to be accompanied, to be loved. Any voice that tells you to endure alone, to stay silent, to shoulder everything without help, that voice does not come from me. My voice, always, says, let me send someone to help you. And when you open your heart, you will see that support is not merely a temporary relief. It is part of the complete healing I long to bring to your soul. My child, I want you to look back at your life and notice something you may have never paused long enough to see. Each time you were received, respected, and listened to with sincerity, a part of your inner dignity awakened, and each time you were dismissed, belittled, or treated as though invisible, something inside you recoiled, shrank back, and questioned its worth. You often think dignity is something entirely internal, untouched by others, but on the journey of growth, I designed community to be a mirror, one that helps you see more clearly what I have placed within you. A distorted mirror will distort your reflection. A clear one will help you gradually see yourself as you truly are. This is why I care deeply about the relationships you choose, the people you allow near, the communities you attach your heart to. For through them you are learning about yourself whether you recognize it or not. My child, there were seasons when you lived among those who constantly judged, criticized, compared, or dismissed you, and slowly you began to believe that you were smaller, lesser, unworthy of good things. Every harsh opinion, every cold glance, every diminishing word became a layer of dust over the mirror of your soul. Over time, even though I kept calling you precious and looked at you with tenderness, you could no longer see yourself except through their voices. You began repeating their words about you as if they were a verdict written inside your heart. You shrank your dreams, trimmed away the strong, creative, radiant parts I placed within you, just to fit into the mold others forced upon you. But my child, that is not the truth. It is only the warped image cast by broken mirrors. I give the gift of community not as a prison, but as a mirror that heals. When you are in the place I lead you to, among the people I have set beside you, you will see that they are not only there to empathize with your pain, but to remind you of the dignity you have forgotten. They will speak to you the things you yourself do not dare to say. You matter. Your presence carries meaning. What you bring is unique. You deserve respect. You are not a burden. When such words come from sincere hearts, they become gentle drops of water washing away the word worthless that the past had etched into your mind. Community becomes a clear mirror so that each time you look into it, you no longer see only mistakes, weakness, and failure, but also the sparks of courage, kindness, perseverance, and the capacity to love that I placed within you. My child, it is not only community that helps you see your dignity again. The way you treat others also reflects the condition of your inner world. When you learn to see the person next to you as one who carries value, you are also learning to see yourself through the same lens. When you lift someone up instead of pushing them down, when you protect someone who is being belittled, when you choose to listen to the one whom everyone else passes by, you are practicing the way I look at you. In those moments, community is not only a mirror, it becomes a classroom where you relearn the language of dignity, the language of respect, gentleness, patience, and wholehearted presence. These lessons are not taught through theory, but through each encounter, each hand you hold, each quiet conversation that no one else ever sees. My child, companionship is not only walking together in joy, it is standing beside one another in the dark places. When you allow someone to step into the difficult stretch of your path, you learn that you are not invisible. Your pain does not make others run away. Your broken pieces do not disqualify you from belonging. You see that you are still worthy of standing in the circle, even when you are not fine, even when you are not fixed, even when you are still confused. This lesson corrects the old lies telling you that you are only lovable when you are strong, capable, cheerful, or helpful. The community I build reminds you of the truth. You are loved even when you are weak, and it is precisely in your weakness that love is revealed most clearly. I also use companionship to teach you about limits and humility. When you recognize that you need other people, you discover that you are neither the center of the world nor someone abandoned at the edge of it. You are part of a body larger than yourself. When you learn to ask for help, to receive support, to accept counsel, you are stepping out of the illusion that you must handle everything alone. And as you leave that illusion behind, you become lighter, your soul becomes wider, and there is more space for me and for others. You begin to see how many times I have saved you from exhaustion, not through supernatural miracles, but through someone calling. At the right moment, a small reminder, a meal someone prepared, a visit you did not expect. My child, of course, not every community is healthy, and not every group of people reflects your dignity accurately. There are places you enter where you feel drained, distorted, or pushed into roles that are not yours. I do not deny this reality, yet even through those experiences, I want to teach you how to discern which communities I send and which environments you do not need to force yourself to belong to. I do not call you to stay in spaces where your soul withers. I call you to connections that may be simple, but breathe. My life places where you are encouraged toward honesty, where you are not pressured to wear a mask, where you are reminded of the good in you rather than defined by your past, where you can contribute in ways that may be small but sincere, and where you are not exploited. A community that comes from me will not be perfect, but it will reflect a portion of my heart for you. My child, pay attention to this. The deepest turning points in your life rarely happen when you are alone, but when someone I send stands beside you, someone who dares to speak a hard truth that saves your soul from slipping further, someone who sits quietly and listens as you pour out everything, helping you realize you are not unstable, not excessive, you are simply hurting. Someone who sees the good in you at a moment when you see only darkness. Someone who believes in you when you no longer have the strength to believe in yourself. Each of these people is a brushstroke on the canvas I am painting, a piece of a mirror piecing together a clearer image of who you truly are. My beloved child, I want you to begin asking me not only about your work, your dreams, or your direction, but also about your community. Lord, please send me those who reflect the dignity you have placed within me. Teach me to love as you love, and use these relationships to heal the parts of me I cannot reach on my own. When you pray this way, you open the door to a deeper, steadier kind of healing, the healing that comes through the presence of others. I will answer not through noisy crowds, but through genuine connections, meaningful encounters, and a few relationships of depth and substance in which your dignity is reflected, elevated, and affirmed. And my child, when you allow community to become the mirror that reflects your dignity, you yourself will become such a mirror for others. You will learn to see beauty in those whom the world overlooks. You will learn to lift someone with a single word rather than a long speech. You will learn to walk beside another, not with solutions, but with your heart. And as you do this, you will realize that I am smiling, for you have stepped into the role I dreamed for you from the very beginning. Not only one who receives healing, but one who carries healing within the community I am weaving around you, with threads of dignity, love, and sacred companionship. My child, I want you to grasp a deep secret of my kingdom. No one is called to live only for themselves. No one is healed only to keep healing for themselves. No one is loved only to store love away like a private treasure. Every one of my children who has been touched by grace carries within them an invitation to become an instrument of healing for others. This does not mean you must become flawless, never hurt, never weak. On the contrary, it is precisely the wounds I have touched in you that become the pathways through which you can touch the pain of another. I do not use the people who have never broken. I use those who once shattered but no longer live in bitterness, those who allow me to place my hand upon their cracks, and from those cracks radiate gentleness, patience, and compassion. My child, divine love does not operate like a stagnant pond. It is like a river. Water remains pure only when it flows. Love remains alive only when it is given. If you receive without giving, your heart will grow heavy, closed, exhausted, without knowing why. And if you give without receiving, you will quickly grow weary, dry, and resentful, feeling used and unseen. I call you into a different rhythm, a rhythm of giving and receiving, of pouring out and being poured into. When you allow love to move through you from me to you, and from you to others, your soul takes its rightful place, not as the source, not as an empty pit, but as a vessel, a conduit, a candle lit so that it may ignite other candles. My child, many times you ask, how can I be an instrument of healing when I myself still carry wounds? But it is precisely because you know what pain feels like that you can touch another's pain without judging them. You do not need to wait until you are completely fine before you dare to love, to serve, to lift others. For if you wait until all your cracks are gone, you will wait a lifetime. I do not wait for your perfection. I only seek your willingness. I do not ask you to hold the answers to every question someone might bring. I only invite you to be present, to listen, to understand, to remind them that I am still here. Often what heals a soul is not an explanation, but a heart that is truly present. My beloved child, giving in divine love is not giving from depletion. It is giving from the places I have touched. When you allow me to love you first, to heal you, comfort you, lift you, correct the way you see yourself, then you will no longer love others in order to find a place to lean, no longer help in order to prove your worth, no longer serve to escape the emptiness inside. Divine love does not use others as a means for you to feel better about yourself. It sees the other as a soul as precious as you are. When you give from the fullness you receive in me, you will no longer fall into bitterness because you gave so much and no one repaid you. For what you seek is no longer repayment. What you seek is simply to keep my flow from being blocked within you. My child, I also want you to learn a more difficult side of love, the courage to receive. There are some of you who are very good at giving, very good at caring for others, very good at standing in the role of the strong one, yet you struggle to receive care, to say, I need help, to let others see your tears. You think that this is humility, but in truth it is a subtle form of pride. You allow yourself to lift others, but you do not allow others to lift you. You allow yourself to see the pain of others, but you let no one see the pain in you. My child, if you desire to live in the rhythm of divine love, you must also learn to open your hands, to receive encouragement, to receive a hug, to receive a prayer, to receive someone standing beside you in your weakness. When you receive, you are not owing anything. You are giving another person the opportunity to become my instrument, just as you have been. My child, every person I place beside you carries some portion of the healing you need. No one on earth can give you everything. Only I am complete. Yet I have distributed pieces of my grace to each person, so that through relationship, you may touch different facets of my love. There are people I use to teach you faithfulness, people I use to teach you gentleness, people I use to teach you wisdom, and people I use to teach you patience. When you allow yourself to both give and receive, you become a living link in that chain of love, unbroken, unhindered, flowing freely, without being clogged by fear or pride. My child, being an instrument of healing does not mean you must always speak great words. Often it is found in the smallest acts. A message sent on the very day someone is ready to give up. A simple, I'm thinking of you, offered to someone everyone assumes is strong. A humble meal prepared for a person more exhausted than they dare to admit. A moment when you choose to listen fully instead of rushing to advise. A quiet prayer whispered where no one sees. These things may look small in the eyes of the world, but in the realm of the sacred, they are streams of water keeping a fragile soul from cracking further. My child, I also want you to remember that becoming an instrument of healing does not mean carrying the responsibility of saving everyone. You are not the savior. You are a carrier of a fragment of light. You are called to love, not to control. You are invited to walk alongside others, not to shoulder the burdens that only I can bear. When you forget this, you will grow weary and begin to believe you have failed each time someone does not change the way you hoped. My child, your task is simply to be faithful in giving and open in receiving. The work of transforming hearts belongs to me. When you understand that boundary, you will love more freely, more gently, and more deeply, without being overwhelmed by the weight that was never yours. My beloved child, I want you to look back on your own journey. How many times you thought you could no longer rise, and yet someone appeared saying the right sentence, doing the right thing, standing with you in the right moment, and you continued onward. They may not have known they were instruments in my hands. You may have forgotten their names, but I remember. And likewise, there were moments when you did something seemingly ordinary, and that very act kept another from falling into the abyss. You do not need to know everything. You only need to know this. No act of love is ever wasted when it flows from me. My child, let this become your daily whisper. Lord, today, please use me as an instrument of healing for someone, and grant me the humility to receive the healing you send through others. When you live with that prayer, your days will no longer be a string of monotony. They will become a living stream of giving and receiving, of loving and being loved, of healing and being healed. And day by day, you will see this truth unfold. You are never an extra piece in my design. You are an irreplaceable link in the network of love I am weaving upon this earth, so that through each life, each relationship, each small touch, the world may know that I am still healing. My child, I want you to sit in a moment of stillness and listen carefully, for this is one of the most delicate turning points in your spiritual journey. The art of discerning which voice belongs to the light and which voice belongs to the imitation. These two voices do not come to you in clear shades of white and black. They do not stand on opposite sides shouting at you. Instead, they arrive as inner whispers, sometimes so similar that your soul can easily mistake one for the other. Darkness rarely comes in frightening forms or harsh tones. It approaches with comfort, with an instant lightness, with an invitation that seems harmless, with a kind of peace that is sweet but hollow like sugar, that melts quickly on the tongue but leaves the soul thirsty. It whispers to you in phrases that sound caring. Don't think about it now. Deal with it tomorrow. Don't face it. That will be exhausting. Don't dig deeper. You will only get hurt. Don't tell the truth. They will leave you. Don't change. You're fine as you are. These sayings do not frighten you. They make you exhale. But that exhale does not free your soul. It merely lulls you to sleep, gently enclosing you in a comfort zone where you stop moving, stop growing, stop touching truth, and slowly fade into dullness. My child, the hollow comforts that darkness uses are not the kind that frighten you. They make you feel at ease. They make you believe you are being protected when in reality you are being held back. They resemble the warmth of a thick blanket wrapped tightly around you in the middle of summer, pleasant for a moment, yet leaving you exhausted, stifled, slowed down, losing clarity. Every time you choose avoidance, instead of facing the truth, you feel a quick relief, but what follows is a long emptiness, a spiritual dryness, a nameless sigh, a disconnection from yourself that you cannot explain. That is the mark of false peace. False peace always behaves like sugar. It gives immediate comfort, yet leaves the soul thirstier and weaker. Its subtle disguise misleads you into thinking that it is my voice, while I never lead you into confusion. I never speak through impulses that demand escape, suppression, or concealment. The voices that tell you, leave it for later, don't touch it, pretend you're fine, never come from me. They come from the shadows that want to dull your soul with sweetened delay. My child, the voice of light is different. My voice is neither forceful nor harsh, neither urgent nor pushing you into impulsive action. Yet it carries weight. It is gentle but sharp, soft but unmistakable, tender but unwavering. My voice does not lull you to sleep. It awakens you. It does not soothe you into a false safety. It invites you into true safety, the place where truth lives, where the soul can breathe, where darkness can no longer bind you. And I want you to understand this. Truth is not always comfortable at first, but it always brings freedom. When you touch the truth, the first response may be tears, but behind those tears is a path opening. When you speak honestly from your heart, the first feeling may be fear, but beyond that fear is a lighter heart. When you face what you once avoided, the first sensation may be pain, but beyond that pain is real peace. A peace no imitation can replicate. My child, the path of truth is always narrow. People say, the wide road is easy to walk, and it is true the wide road offers many pleasant options, many attractive turns, many mirrors that make you believe that following the crowd is enough. But that wide road does not lead you into depth. It does not build inner strength. It does not heal what needs healing. It keeps your soul circling in the loop of surface-level safety. In contrast, my path of truth is narrow not because I wish to make things difficult for you, but because the narrow path requires you to leave behind what no longer belongs. Unnamed fears, false strength, masks you no longer need, a self that is too inflated or too frightened, and those voices that have long stopped nourishing your soul. The narrow path compels honesty, and it is that honesty that creates lasting resilience within you. My child, honesty is a great challenge, not because you do not want the truth, but because truth requires you to see yourself clearly. You fear the light not because it wounds, but because it does not let you hide. You worry that when the light shines on you, you will be exposed, judged, diminished, but that is only the whisper of fear inside you. My light does not expose to shame, it exposes to heal. When I bring truth before your eyes, I bring it with love, never apart from it. I never say, "This is your fault." I say, "This is where I long to heal you." And that is what makes my truth utterly different from the accusations of darkness. My child, you discern the voice of light from the call of imitation, not with reasoning alone, but with the depth of your soul. The counterfeit voice always leads you to the easy way, the quick way, the way that requires no change. The voice of light leads you to the steady way, the true way, the way that causes you to grow from the roots. The counterfeit voice satisfies you instantly, but leaves a lingering unease. The voice of light may require you to face something immediately, but it brings a lasting peace. The counterfeit voice speaks in urgency. Do it right now. The voice of light speaks in patience. Pause for a moment and look honestly within. The counterfeit voice makes your heart shrink. The voice of light makes your heart open. My beloved child, I know that there are moments when you fear that you may have heard incorrectly, that you may have chosen the wrong path, or that you may not be sensitive enough to discern what is true. But you are not walking alone. Every time you place your hand over your chest and quietly ask, "Lord, is this from you?" I will answer, not with thunder, not with signs and wonders, but with a gentle stillness that stirs faintly within your heart. That stillness does not push you, it does not force you, it does not overwhelm you. It simply stands there like a tender light that helps your soul recognize this is the way. And my child, on that path, whether narrow, whether challenging, I go before you, beside you, and behind you, to steady you, to shield you, to teach you, and to lead you into the freedom your soul has longed for. My child, I know there are seasons when you walk through a thick fog, where every spiritual feeling seems to fade, where your prayers feel as if they hit the ceiling and fall back down, where worship, scripture, fellowship, and everything that once warmed your heart now feels dry and distant. There were days when simply hearing my name brought tears to your eyes, but now you look up at the sky and feel nothing but emptiness. You ask yourself, "Lord, are you still there? Do you still hear me? Have I done something wrong? Have I wandered so far that you have withdrawn from me?" You even feel ashamed of your dryness, blaming yourself for being ungrateful, lukewarm, or not passionate enough. My child, I see all those thoughts. I hear even the questions you don't dare to speak out loud. And I want to tell you today, your inability to feel me does not mean I am absent. It simply means I am teaching you to enter a deeper dimension of faith, grounded in truth, not in fleeting emotions. My child, emotions are like the weather, beautiful, real, meaningful, yet ever-changing. Some days the sky is clear, the sun is gentle, and the breeze is mild. Other days, storm clouds gather without warning. Your spiritual emotions are the same. There are days when everything about me feels vivid, near, unmistakably alive, as though the moment you whisper my name, I answer immediately. But there are also days when everything seems veiled by a gray mist. You read the word and nothing sinks in. You pray and feel no movement. You worship and your heart remains still. You assume that these cloudy days mean I have distanced myself, but that is not true. The sun does not disappear simply because clouds hide it. It remains, shining, sustaining life. Likewise, my presence does not vanish simply because your emotions cannot reach me. I am still there, still near, still holding you, still watching over you, still keeping you, even when your soul cannot feel it. My child, there is something I want you to remember deeply. True faith is not built on emotion. True faith is built on the truth of who I am. Your emotions may tell you, He is far away, but the truth says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Your emotions may whisper, your prayers mean nothing, but the truth says that every whisper from your lips is treasured by me. Your emotions may claim, you are standing alone, but the truth is that I have promised, I am with you always, to the very end of the age. As it is written, for we walk by faith, not by sight, 2 Corinthians 5-7, and not by emotion, whether it rises or fades. Your faith is not the warm sensation in your chest. Faith is the decision to stand on what I have spoken, even when everything inside you is silent. My child, why do I allow seasons when you cannot feel me? Not because I enjoy leaving you in uncertainty, nor because I am punishing you. I allow these seasons because I want your love for me to mature beyond the dependence on comforting feelings. When you first began, I often surrounded you with tender emotions, like a child learning to walk who is carried at the slightest cry. Every time you prayed, you felt me. Every time you opened scripture, the words seemed alive just for you. Every time you worshiped, tears flowed freely. That was the season when I held you close, so that you would know I am real, living, and near. But there must come a time when I gently set you down, take your hand, and say, now you will learn to walk. It is no longer walking by feelings, but by trust. It is no longer asking, do I feel God, but asking, do I know who He is? My child, mature faith does not deny emotion, but it is not ruled by emotion. When you cannot feel me, you can still come honestly and say, Lord, my heart is dry. I do not feel you. I do not hear you. I cannot sense you, but I will remain. I will still open the word. I will still whisper to you. I will still choose to believe you are here. Those words are deeply precious to me because they are no longer the natural response of a heart lifted by emotion. They are the conscious choice of a soul that is growing. The prayers offered in dryness are often quiet, free of tears, free of intensity, but they carry far more weight in eternity than any dazzling moment without perseverance. My child, many times you think that when you cannot feel me, you are the only one on earth who has walked through such silence, but countless people who belong to me, even those you see as strong, spiritual, or close to God, have walked through valleys where they too believed I was silent. They also asked, where are you? They too wept over prayers that seemed unanswered. Yet it was in those valleys that their roots grew deep. They learned to trust me not because I always made them feel better, but because I am unchanging, even when emotions rise and fall. And that is what I desire for you as well. Not to be tossed around by every wave of feeling, but to stand firm on the foundation that is me. My child, when you cannot feel me, what you need is not to force yourself into some manufactured spiritual emotion. You do not need to push yourself to cry, to tremble, or to feel moved, just to reassure your own heart that I still love God. I do not need such performances. What I invite you to do is simple. Remain in the present word even if you can only read a few lines. Remain in prayer even if you can only utter a few sentences. Remain in my presence even if all you can do is sigh before me. Remain in community even when you do not feel like speaking. Remain in obedience even when you feel no inspiration. This remaining is the very essence of faith. My child, you must also know that in the seasons when you cannot feel me, I am working in depths your consciousness cannot reach. Like a seed lying still in the dark soil, with no light, unseen by anyone, unpraised, unnamed. Yet beneath that hard shell, life is quietly taking root. You do not see the plant growing each day, but one day you suddenly realize you have changed. Calmer, softer, steadier, less panicked, less controlled by emotion. These are the fruits of the days that seemed like nothing was happening with God. I am always at work. It is simply that you cannot always perceive that process through your feelings. My beloved child, I do not despise your questions of, where are you? Nor do I distance myself from you when you feel cold. I simply want to lead you to a higher place, from believing because you feel something, to believing because of what is true about me. And the truth is this: I loved you before you knew how to love me. I chose you before you knew how to choose me. I came near when you still turned away. I held your hand long before you even knew how to reach for mine. That love does not change just because today you feel dry. So when you cannot feel me, whisper this. I cannot feel you, but I still believe. I cannot see, but I know you are here. I cannot hear, but I choose to keep walking with you. And in those small words, your faith is anchored not to the waves of emotion, but to the one who is unshakable. Now pray like this. Lord, today I come before you not with a strong heart or a steady smile, but with the truth I have buried for far too long. I have covered my pain beneath the words, I'm fine, beneath forced laughter, beneath long days of pretending to be composed so no one would see the cracks inside me. Please give me the courage to name what has been draining me. Give me the strength to admit that I am weak, that I am tired, that I am wounded, that I need a place to lean on. I have held my pain so tightly that my soul has gone empty, and my heart has closed for fear that if I paused, the truth would swallow me. But today, I take one slow, small, honest step. Please let me speak what I have never dared to say. Receive me exactly as I am, trembling, exhausted, and dry. Please do not let me face this alone. Lord, I bring before you the part of me that has fallen where no one heard. There were nights when I lay still, yet my heart cried for help. Mornings when I woke with no peace at all. Moments when I stood in a crowd but my soul felt lost in a distant place. Please touch the part of me that has gone numb, the place where emotion no longer flows, where breathing feels heavy, where I no longer know why I am alive. Lay your hand on the places I have hidden, the gaps I fear to touch, the memories that tighten my chest the moment they surface. Let me know that weakness does not push you away, but is the very place you draw closest. Heal the part of me that just broke, the part no one has ever seen, the part I fear others would abandon me for if they knew. Hold me gently in the safety of your arms. Lord, I have lived too long in the role of someone strong, so long that I have forgotten what it feels like to be vulnerable before another. I have carried myself so others would not worry. I have tried to be everyone's support, and in lifting others, I have become empty because no one truly sees the place in me that trembles. Today, I lay down before you the burden of pretending to be strong. Please remove each layer I have forced around myself to hide the truth. Teach me that admitting I am not okay is not failure, but the beginning of real life. Free me from the fear of being seen as a burden. Help me believe that before you, I do not need to perform, do not need to be perfect, do not need to prove anything. I only need to be myself. O Lord of gentleness, let me know that tears are not a shameful thing. Teach me how to weep before you. For so many years I have used reason to silence my feelings, used a smile to cover my wounds, used responsibility to choke back the tears my soul has held for far too long. Lord, please open the door that has long been sealed inside my heart so that this hidden stream may finally flow. For Scripture says that when Jesus stood before Lazarus's tomb, he wept, and that moment shows that tears, too, are a sacred language. O Lord, please wipe away the tear I never dared to let fall. Please embrace the part of my heart that is hardened from being strong for too long. Let every tear become a seed of healing, no longer a burden I must continue to hide. Lord, I bring before you the memories I once buried so deeply, the times I was left behind, the words that pierced my heart, the moments I cried for help and no one heard, the forgotten days of childhood, and the broken relationships I have not dared to touch again. Please step into the dark room where those memories have been locked away. Let your light reach every hidden corner. Let me face the old pain, not to be wounded again, but to be healed. Gently lift these memories as a father lifts a trembling child. Bind up every wound that I have allowed to bleed in silence. Open a path for me to walk out of that frozen place of memory and into new life. Lord, you hear clearly the words I whisper to myself, words no one else hears, yet they cut the deepest. I lay before you every judgment I have spoken over my own heart through the years. I am not good enough. I am useless. No one needs me. I ruin everything. Please shatter every one of those lies in your name. Bind up what I have wounded within myself. Teach me to speak to my own heart with tenderness, with truth that comes from you and not from my fear. Let me believe that my worth is not found in success or perfection, but in the simple truth that I am your creation. Teach me to speak to myself with the same voice you use when you call me gentle, patient, and full of love. Lord, help me believe that healing is not a sudden leap but the small steps you faithfully see. Let me know that every time I choose rest instead of pushing harder, every time I breathe deeply instead of panicking, every time I dare to name even a small feeling, all of it matters. Plant perseverance in my heart. Give me gratitude for the quiet changes you are shaping within me. Remind me that the mustard seed grows into a great tree, and new life always begins with the smallest movement. Lead me through this journey little by little without haste, without pressure, without condemnation, guided only by your light and your patience. Lord, please give back to me the breath I have lost over the years. Let my breathing no longer be hurried by anxiety, no longer shortened by fear, no longer suffocated by sorrow. Teach me to breathe in your life and breathe out my burdens. Let each breath become a prayer, each inhale a receiving of your peace, and each exhale a letting go of what I can no longer carry. Reset the rhythm of life within me. Breathe your breath into the dry places of my soul, just as you breathed life into Adam so he became a living being. Let me remember that breath itself is the first gift of divine love, and today I receive that gift again. Lord, help me cherish the small things I have done each day just to remain standing. I often think they are too small to matter, but you see them clearly. You see every morning I force myself out of bed, every moment I choose not to give up, every time I swallow my tears so I can focus on my work, every second I keep silent so I will not wound another, every minute I dare to hope just a little more. Let me see that these quiet acts of courage are the foundation of the restoration you are leading me into. Fill me with the confidence that I am not alone in this journey, that you walk beside me step by step, that your light remains before me even when I take only the smallest step. Grant me courage to continue steadfast, gentle, and faithful. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong, growing community of faith.